Hi everyone, from me, Brent Graham. It's Thursday night, 9 o'clock time for the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters. Well, if my background looks a little bit different to you, it's because it is. I've had no power at home now for 25 hours. So I've had to run across to my sister-in-law's house to do the show. But yeah, looking very forward to getting through this one because, of course, it's the big week. It's Six Nations. I think many rugby punters feeling the same way at the moment. You know, we've been punting these European competitions. It's been, you know, what's happening with team selections? Is it going to be full strength? And it's just been really tough to get going. So that's the Six Nations. We're going to talk Six Nations. We're going to talk Sharks against Stormers. But first, I want to introduce you to our Six Nations sponsor for the next few weeks, and it's Darren Kramer. I remember him back in the days playing poker in the All Africa Poker Championships. Him and his mates have started a site now, POKERBET. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we go on, but they're putting up some great prizes tonight as well. Darren, first of all, welcome to the show, and how are things going at POKERBET?
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, it's going really well. It's been really well received from the whole poker community, which has been awesome. You know, I was just looking to find a place to play, reimagine what Pigs Peak was 15 years ago, created again. And yeah, just so far it's been awesome. And we're looking forward to, you know, a long and prosperous journey. And it's great to be involved with you guys.
Excellent. We'll chat to you a little bit further about some of the competitions that we're going to run. But let's pop down to the bottom. Where about in the United States? Where about in the world is this man? Because I've never known anyone who travels quite as much as him. Harry, I think, first of all, welcome back to the show. It's the first time we've chatted this year. Before I even bring you in, I want to say brilliant comment calling me a rugby mastermind. I've never seen so many people disagree with you on Twitter before. But great to have you back on the show. And where are you at the moment?
Yeah, so I'm actually in Texas, and it's frozen. The whole state is under a sheet of ice. So, you know, we're also having a little bit of load shedding, but a different way.
Right, but different. So, first of all, I see a lot of guys in on the live chat already. Mark Dunphy. Mark, are you still in Ireland or are you sitting in Vietnam at the moment? By the way, I've got the Leinster jersey. It looks absolutely superb today, though. I am wearing, and I'll just twist my screen a bit, I'm wearing the POKERBET hoodie. Now, it's midsummer in South Africa, so you question why I'm wearing the hoodie. Well, let's say they mixed up the size of the golf strip then. I didn't look so good in the large golf shirt, so I decided to go with the hoodie. What size are you wearing there, Darren?
We're in a large, but it's a bit of a tight fit. The XL was deeper. We were scrambling, so we flick between both.
Right. Yeah, recently I had to change my uniform for one of the podcasts because I had a genuine Osterant jersey and it was too tight on me. So I've been losing weight ever since.
JP Deploy coming in, looking forward to cashing it on the Six Nations. Mark Dunphy asking, are the competitions only open to South Africans? Darren, I guess it is the case. I don't know if it's possible for an international player to win. I mean, I'm going to suggest they play anyway in the competitions, and perhaps they can nominate someone if they win then. But any chance of internationals opening, or are you only allowed to open South African accounts?
So if you have a South African ID, you can be living overseas, but as long as you have a South African ID, you're able to play. That is kind of the restriction based on that. So, yeah, if you have a South African ID, you know, you moved overseas, jump in. Unfortunately, if you're a foreigner, that's the limitation.
Okay, well, we'll discount a few of the guys. I know we've got plenty of guys, particularly from Ireland, that come in with us. Let's get into the competitions. First, I want to start with Harry's trivia, but before that, Darren, just to mention, we're going to give away 3 entries into your Sunday night poker competition, but we'll do that on Twitter, so just to let everyone know to watch that. But that's 3 entries into the 200,000 guaranteed pot on Sunday. And what are those entries worth?
So it's 770 rand a person. As you said, 200,000 rand in the total pool, about 75,000 for first. So very nice Sunday payday. We actually had even to last week there was a 1.6 million rand actually prize pool, and a wonderful gentleman from Johannesburg found it. So every Sunday we have a big tournament, but for this one, 3 lucky people. You know, rags to riches story, the dream. So 3 guys just follow, and 770 rand's yours.
Yeah, and after a weekend of punting, I normally am. It's just literally a case of rags to riches for me. But let's get going now. I do have some terms and conditions just going down below, guys. You will need, we're going to give you a bit of leeway on this week if you haven't opened the POKERBET account. There is a link down below. It's a bit difficult with YouTube to put our link in, but you can go to the Good for the Game site on that link, and you can, right at the top will be the link to open a site of POKERBET. I saw on Twitter tonight a number of guys already opened accounts there as well. So that's obviously so that you can claim your prize through POKERBET. We'll get to the Six Nations outright now, but Harry, start us off with that trivia question, and we'll see who gets it right first.
Okay, yeah. So trivia question number one. We all know Scotland has not been really great lately. But when was the last time Scotland actually won the whole tournament? We're looking for a year. So what was the last year that Scotland won the Six Nations, or the predecessor to the Six Nations?
Right, well, we'll let the guys go because there is a bit of a delay on the stream. They're probably about 25 seconds behind us. So we'll start talking about the Six Nations outright betting. Now, Harry, I know you've done a bit of research. You've been writing some articles, of course, your podcast and articles all the time there. What have you concluded? Who's going to win the Six Nations? Yeah, we've got Ireland here, and these odds are from POKERBET: 25-20, France 19-10, 4-1 the English, 11-1 Wales, Scotland 20s, and Italy 500-1. Where's the smart money?
Yeah, purely because Ireland actually plays the French and the English in Dublin in this vintage of the tournament. It's Ireland's tournament to lose. So when you actually look at the Irish and the French, it's going to come down to that match. I don't think they're going to drop another match. But if a team is going to drop one they shouldn't, I actually think the French will. And my logic there is Ireland is a cohesive unit. The clarity is really well formed. The French look like they could be worked out against Springboks and against Australia. And they had a full complement of players when they got worked out. They struggle to get entrances in 22, whereas Ireland can always manufacture them. Ireland has a weakness too, which is Johnny Sexton is too much, the author of their fate. But I do think when you look at this tournament, because of the home and away, last year was Ireland going to Paris and dropped it, and it was really close. I think it just flips around this time. So that on the tournament as a whole, and then I think below that, I think Wales stands to gain more from their new coach than England. And hear me out on this one. I think it's because Warren Gatland is used to coming in with very limited time, getting a team ready for basically a similar grind of 5 matches, because he's been Lions coach 3 tours in a row. And he knows every single one of these players in and out. So I think there's more of a comeback to a home, daddy's back. Whereas Borthwick is still, I don't know exactly what they're going to do with Farrell and Smith. They picked them again. And I think that's the cock block there.
Right. Well, let's before we get Darren's comments on the outright of the Six Nations, let's get the answers flooding in pretty quickly. I think I remember what you told me at the start of the show, but just please confirm the year there that Scotland lost one. And just to mention, Harry, we've had questions. We've had a lot of people saying like 1,000,000 years or 19 BC. It has been a while. When did Scotland last win it? And I'll pull up our winner.
Yeah. So the most recent tournament win by Scotland was in 1999. And a kind of a funny trivia twist there is that Gregor Townsend was a player.
Okay. So look, Mark, unfortunately, I've spoken to this man on the phone when he sent me my Leinster jersey, the most expensive jersey in all of history. And he's definitely not a South African ID. So unfortunately, Mark won't be able to win it. So if we go down, we had Stephen with 2005, Peter Paul 1998, and then JP Deploy 1999. JP, you can email me, Brent at goodforthegame.co.za, and we'll arrange that prize. Right, let's go up to Darren. Now, Darren, what are your thoughts on the outright of the Six Nations? Obviously, I think it's the big final game between the Irish and France in Ireland is expected to be pivotal.
Yeah, so I agree with Harry. I think Ireland are definitely a team to beat, but I can definitely see a few slip-ups. I just think that there are some banana slips happening, and I actually prefer, for me in the market, that no one wins the Grand Slam. I actually think somehow, just way with a draw, that 9-10, no Grand Slam winner, I just actually like that. I think, I actually think England are actually going to flatter to deceive. Until he gets rid of that 10-12 access, he's stuck in the old way. I look at that team, and we'll get on to which game I like the most. Indicating Scotland here, but I just think that English team, I don't know, there's a lot that, Ben Curry playing, I think it's the first match in a few years. But that whole centre thing, I don't know, even looking back the way Farrell played against Edinburgh a few weeks ago, I think you need to, release him, and I think you'll make Marcus Smith, do the magic that he creates.
Yeah, look, I haven't got all the markets here now. I know there's lots of other markets, Harry, and I'll pop down to you that you can get, for example, top point scorer, where I think Sexton's trading it like as a 9-4 favorite. And I've seen a number of guys say, Sexton, is he going to play every game? He's getting to that stage of his career. He's starting to take a few knocks. I doubt they'll rest him, except perhaps for like maybe a game against Italy or something like that. But anybody stand out for you there that could be a dark horse, even in top points, or maybe even that we can expect to get amongst the tries in this tournament?
Yeah, for points, Dan Bigger is not a bad shout. The way Warren Ball works, they do take a lot of shots at poles. He's in very good form, and he tends to nail his kicks. So it's the thing about England. It's very difficult to know if this thing is going to actually continue. This experiment. I would wager that actually it's not going to. So I don't think Owen's a good bet. Yeah, I'll probably go Dan Bigger. Finn Russell is actually a guy who makes a lot of kicks and has a pretty good percentage, and his reputation is not that way, but he actually is a good kicker. So those are the two threats I would think.
And just quickly on Finn Russell, is he back in favour with the coach now? I mean, at one stage it seemed like he'd fallen out with him and that sort of stuff. Because that was who I was eyeing out, actually. I think if Finn Russell plays every game, I make him a big run, and he's the kind of guy I might get a trial to as well.
Yeah, it was actually tragic how Gregor Townsend wasted that talent a year ago. I think it was going through something like who's the boss. I know that Finn Russell's dad is also on the outs with Scottish Rugby Union. There's also sort of almost a class distinction there. Finn didn't go to the right schools. He's a stonemason by trade. He likes his beer. I think Gregor's pretty buttoned up guy from the private schools. So I think that was the better year for them to do well. There's generational talent, and there's no one new. And every single one of those guys, Stuart Hogg, Finn Russell, Richie Gray, Duan van der Merwe, they're all a year older now. I don't think they're going to be better. So I do think he missed the trick, and that Scotland's going to. I think Scotland will struggle this year.
Okay, voice of doom. In other words, 1999 is not going to be repeated this year. Certainly very unlikely. Darren, anything for you on the long-term markets? Anything else other than the traditional? There, anything on the point score? Anybody to watch out for before we get into the matches?
No, I mean, again, I would like the Dan Big. I think, traditionally, even Scotland will get a few tries in that. I don't know, Johnny Sexton, whether he goes through this whole campaign, World Cup, 5-6 months, or maybe the Italy game, they might find him a rest. Dan Big would stand up for me. I see Lee Halfpenny is out the game as well. So, maybe a bit more expansive there with Liam Williams at fullback. But I would go for Dan Bigger, but nothing really stands out for me there.
Right.
I think the most cards will be issued by Luke Pierce.
Yes. Funny enough, you mentioned cards, Harry. I mean, I saw one of the long-term markets. I got sent something from Shane on Twitter, and I've looked through it, but I haven't gone through it in detail. I was actually hoping to share it, but my power failure prevented me from going in detail today. But he's looked at all stats from previous years, and I think that the spread is 15.5 yellow cards for the tournament, which works out at, I think, around about one a game, somewhere around there. I actually think we're going to see a lot of yellow cards. I'd certainly be looking at an overs play there. The way that whole tackle rule and that sort of stuff's going at the moment.
Yeah, because there's a macro meta narrative by World Rugby to try and get that switched or fixed before the big tournament. You can go back in time to prior World Cups and you see that they, for example, the aerial touching a guy in the air, they really cracked down on that in the year of the World Cup, and then they relaxed during the World Cup. They don't want to have the World Cup be marred by too many controversial decisions. So they might do the crackdown now. The other thing is, that really does shift things. Every study I've read, it's about, 0.5 points per 10 minutes when you're one man down. And it could depend on the position, obviously. Number 9 would be a bigger problem. But that actually is going to sway some games. Remember Wales 2 years ago? They won the tournament because basically they were the better.
2 red cards, it's in their favor, right? Yeah. I remember that well. Right, guys, we're going to get into the competition. I'm not going to bring all the answers up, but here's the competition, and we're going to talk about the game while you guys are posting. This is a 1,000 Rand voucher at POKERBET. It's our biggest individual voucher we're giving away on the night. What I want to know, Ireland up against Wales up against Ireland. Who's going to win the game, first of all? And by how many points? And then how many total points in the game? So here's my example. Ireland by 7 and 41 points. Obviously, everyone who gets the winner goes through. Then we look at the margin, and if there's a tie, we go to points to separate it. This is only for viewers live on the show. So if someone watching the show tonight is going to win that £1,000 voucher, and you guys can go for that. But let me bring up the actual game itself, Darren. I'll start with you here. There seems to be a bit of money here for the Irish. I think there was -4.5 even early in the week in this game. The money has come in. The market seems to have settled, depending. I think you guys, I got this from, I think it was +6.5. There's +5.5 in places. But all things, and initially I was seeing plenty of support for Ireland, but I've seen quite a few Welsh punters coming in now suggesting they can give Ireland a scare. What do you think of this one?
So personally, I think I think Ireland will win this game. I think unless Gatland's magic and the 100,000 people screaming and shouting for them, I think this Ireland team with Sexton there at the helm is just superb. Love the loose trio. I would just be very surprised if Wales can turn them over. But as I say, at home, Gatland, magic, maybe. But for me, I really like Ireland. Not sure about covering the 6.5. Sometimes in these games it gets a bit scrappy and all. But I would have liked the -4.5 on Ireland. But I reckon in a few multis, Ireland, I would definitely add them into most of them.
Yeah, I see Chris Sturdy in the Good for the Game preview went Ireland by 1 to 12 points at 14 to 10, which is certainly in these type of games a play. And just quickly before we go down to Harry on this one, total points 42.5. I mean, that looks about right, eh?
Yeah, it looks spot on that. Yeah, it looks good. It looks right there. Yeah, I like it. I think they 1 to 12 market. Love it. Yeah, I think that's a good play there. You said 14 to 10 around.
Yeah, round about 14 to 10. And that's one of those markets I normally go for if I'm not strong on the handicap, or as you say, you expect a close game. The only thing I always say about that market, you're never safe. You're always a 7-pointer away from losing in that particular market there. Well, most of the guys coming in with the points in the 40s here. So it's even a chance, I think we could even get a tie and have to split things there. But let's go down to Harry. Harry, do you agree with the money that's come for the Irish here that's pushed the handicap out a couple of points?
So, Wales should, on the basis of the, preceding 12 months or whatever, should lose by 10, but they won't. They're going to lose or win by less than 5. I think that's where the game is going to be. And my support for that is, you look at selection, you look at the Irish struggles in the end of year tour. Against the Box, Ireland never made a true break. They had to rely on one very scrappy, strange play with Caelan Doris going, into touch and flipping it around, a sketchy clean out, and then one score on the left. They never made any headway on the right side. And you look at their team right now, and you see, who they've got at wing, and in trying to develop those breaks. I do think Wales will keep it very low scoring. I think Wales under Gatland, and with the experience, the 1,000 caps, the 10 Lions, I think they know how to keep a match in range. So I think it's actually going to be a tough slog. And I think Ireland will get better. Ireland will get better and better through the tournament. But I think this is the perfect time to catch them. Wales is written off. No one's going to say they're going to win. And then you look at, Tulupi Faletau, Justin Tipperick. You have Tommy Raffel off the bench. You have a really tough back line with Liam Williams now. I think actually a better pick than Hoffman was out. Josh Adams, George North. I think they match up pretty well against the likes of Mac Hansen and James Lowe, who are not that great on defense. So I think, Wales should be able to score some points. Maybe not 20, but maybe 20 is enough to scare the Irish. The thing is, the Irish obviously have a bench, but I don't like Conor Murray nowadays coming off the bench. He slows the thing down. Jamison Gibson Park is, a 3-second ruck clearance guy, and Conor Murray's a 5. He fiddles around at the behind of the caterpillar thing too much. I think the Eben Etzebeth pickup showed everyone, that the refs are ready to stop that, to let someone take the ball if it's you're not bound. So I do think Wales will make this a tough game. Dan Bigg is not going to miss very many. The roof will be closed, so there's no wind or rain to worry about. I think it's going to be a tough one for the Irish.
Yeah, going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. I must tell you guys, I'm going to be watching this game wearing a Leinster shirt at the Irish Club in Johannesburg. So there's simply no ways I'm shouting home the Welsh in that type of environment. But I do agree with you guys. I think we could have a close game here. At 4.5, I was probably leading Ireland. I think the cap's about right, and I'm going to mull over that. But one bet, I think it was Johan Esterhuizen that brought up, and I see Chris Sturdy also liked it in the Good for the Game preview. And it's a speculative play, but he's going Wales to lead at halftime and Ireland to come back and win the game. And that's at around 11-2, 6-1. Darren, what do you think of that bet?
Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, definitely. They could come out firing. Wales, Ireland could settle into the game. I can definitely see them, Wales being a few points up at halftime and then the Irish kind of, purring a bit and, then finding that win. I like that. Good value, that. Very good value. Even that other market that I saw someone type, 7 win within 7 either way. Not bad value as well. So someone, Stephen Marks, wrote in the chat. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you do just get those games. You just know you can't pick a winner, but you kind of know that it's going to go down to the wire. And I also do enjoy that. You normally get a game like this, I imagine, will be about 12, 13 to 10. Maybe if you're lucky, you might get 11. But it's a nice way to watch a game with you. You'd be very surprised. Yeah, if this was in Dublin, you could see Ireland running away with it. But there in Wales, you've got to say it's going to be close either way. And that certainly could well be the bet. Gents, let's move on to the next game. And there's another competition, but this is slightly different now. So, guys, you're watching on the live show, you don't have to rush with your entry for this one. It's exactly the same principle. It's England against Scotland, and we want exactly the same thing, the winner, the margin, and the points. The difference with this one is this entry is also to give the guys who are not able to watch the show live a chance to win. You're going to enter here below the YouTube video. So in the comment section, you'll just put your entry, and I'll go through all of that on, I think, after the Sunday's game, or this will be Saturday's game, and we'll see the winner. So this is not for the live chat. You're welcome to put a prediction in the live chat, but this is in the YouTube video. And let's get on to that one. I'm going to start with Harry this time. Harry, there has been money, from what I can tell you, for the Scots. There was sort of plus 10.5 early in the week. It seems to have moved into around the 8.5 levels. Sentiment definitely with Scotland here amongst punters, but are they overestimating the Scottish side, and what effect is the New England coach going to have?
So I do think the best match that Scotland will play, or one of the best, probably 2 matches, will be this one. They're doing very well in the Calcutta Cup. I think it's 1 out of 5 that England's won against Scotland in the last 6 matches. So I do think if you're going to have a bit of an upset on the scoreline, I do think England's got enough ammo to take this. I do think they're tempting the gods of fate by having 3 players named Ollie. I don't know about that. That's I think that's very sketchy. And then they have a couple of Bens too. But I do think some of the selections in England are exotic, and I think that's because Steve Borthwick does not have very much time before the World Cup. So even though Eddie Jones lost his job primarily because he was not valuing the Six Nations, and he was all World Cup, Steve Borthwick is kind of in that position anyway, and he has to see who can work. So Amaro Itoje, Ollie Chesham lock duo, I'm not sure that's better than Richie Gray and Grant Gilchrist and Johnny Gray as a threesome. I mean, I think that's a very strong lock duo, core. I do think the loose trio is a little bit experimental too. You got Lewis Ludlam, supposed to be the big carry guy, yards, after contact. Ben Curry's not big enough anymore to pierce that line, so he's going to be a link guy. And then Alex Dombrandt plays like an extra center. In addition, the back line for England still is suffering from that same lack of clarity. You have Jack van Poortvliet that was actually very bad in the autumn series, and then you have Max Malins is going to come in off the wing. You have Ollie Hassel-Collins, who's not very tested. I just don't know what they're going to do. I think a lot relies on breaking the gain line, and I do think that the Scots can soak up that pressure. I've actually written an article which suggests that Freddie Stewart is the real solution here. If England wants to score tries, and they only scored 3 against non-Italians in the Six Nations last year, and 4 against non-Italian teams the year before, they're not scoring tries. I think Freddie Stewart has to do more with the ball, a la Willie LaRue, Damien Willems, Jordy Barrett, Bowden Barrett, these kind of fullbacks that actually ignite a counter. Stuart Hogg. I mean, there's plenty of examples. I just think Freddie Stewart saying, I catch the high ball, never drop it, but then all he does is break one tackle and sit down. So they need more than a ruck target. They need something to break. So I do think England's not going to run out and score 5 tries. They're not going to score 4 tries. I think they're going to score 2, possibly 3 if they're lucky. Scotland doesn't look like to me that they have enough firepower in the final 40. But, it's Finn Russell, right? So he's going to be up for this. And I think that this will be their best match in the 6 tournaments. I just don't know. We don't know what Borthwick's style is going to be. Are they going to kick more like Leicester? Are they going to they have kind of a lightweight pack, actually. So I don't know if England can really bash anyone with this pack. And I worry a little bit about, former Stormer, Hugh Jones, and Tuipulotu against that midfield. Owen Farrell is a horrible tackler at the best of times, but with this microscope on height, and I just don't think his knees just don't bend in tackles. So I do think that card problem could actually hit England here in the first match.
I see Mursa Boss, I won't bring up all of his comments. Some of them need to be censored. He called you Biltong Beck Jones, and he doesn't agree with you. He said Scotland are going to take the Kolkata. I don't know if Biltong Beck is it's a compliment there. But yeah.
I know a guy named Biltong Beck. I know a guy named Port Chocolate.
Right, let's go up to Darren there. Darren, this game, obviously you guys are probably laid a bit of Scotland on the plus there. But which way do you see it heading? Are we in for another close one?
I love, for me on the weekend, plus 9.5. I know it's moved to 7.5 actually since we plus 9.5 from Scotland. I just like it. They've been, I like that Gregor went for Ben White, no Ali Price. He went for form. Yeah, I like that a lot. It's a bold move but he's gone for the guys in form. I am a bit surprised Chris Harris at Gloucester, not playing. But yeah, I'm just not convinced by this England side. As Harry said, this pack, they're not going to dominate. When they don't dominate, Owen Farrell, he's going to struggle a bit. And I think Mark Smith's not going to have the front foot ball. He's going to have to try to create. I just really think that if they'd done a much more dynamic centre pairing, it brings Freddie Stewart into the game all the time, and he will just open them up. So personally, I think this will be very close. As you guys said, they'll be very fired up, Scots, and I think this is going to be a penalty here and there. So expect to be really tight. I know it might not be at the absolutely said last year, Scotland at their prime. I still think they're good enough. And any Scottish team that has Nel, Van der Merwe, Schoeman and Steyn, well, it's half South Africans over there. Who would have thought that in 2023?
No, that's for sure. Darren, just quickly then, it sounds to me as though you would be leaning towards unders there if you were looking at points because of the fact that you expect a close game.
Yeah, very much so. I like unders there in Scotland. I think it'll be a very tight game. A lot of kicking, positional play, trying to take your opportunities. I can't see, besides obviously maybe Finn Russell opens up, I think both teams will be pretty cagey. So low scoring game there for me.
Right, and Faridia reckons 15-3. Johannes coming up. He always gives us a weekly treble. Wales halftime plus 3.5, Scotland plus 8.5, and Italy plus 10.5 halftime handicap. Italy will get onto that game now. Always very popular. Johan, I did see you make your prediction for this game in the live chat, which is fine. But just a reminder, for this particular competition, you must do it below. And also, guys, it's one prize per person. So whatever the highest one is, we'll give you that one, and then otherwise we'll go to the second place person. Make sure we spread things around a bit. Let's get on to the next game. We got a competition here once again for the live chat. It's the 500 Rand vouchers, exactly the same principle. I didn't want to overcomplicate things. Italy, France, who's going to win? I shouldn't imagine we're going to see too many Italys there. But how many points and how many points in total are we going to see in the game? So let's get on to that one. And Darren, we'll start with you. Italy plus 20.5 against the French. And we've got a points line looking here in the mid-50s.
Yeah. This is of all the weekend, this is the least confidence I have between all three games. Obviously, teams on out. The French, I expect them to win, but Italy have definitely improved recently, showed some glimpses of, performance at home. So, I don't know, for me personally, I'll be staying out of this one. I think France win between 15 and 25, all in that range. Kind of, don't have any confidence on that. Maybe, don't know how many points, maybe they hold Italy down to points. If I had to go somewhere, I'd probably go unders there, just first game combinations and all. But yeah, generally don't have a very strong opinion on this game.
Yeah, and also it's Sunday, so you're going to be preparing for poker tournaments and stuff. You don't want to be too distracted by the rugby. Yeah. Harry, bringing you in on that one. I think I think Italy are going to be a bit more competitive in the Six Nations, is my personal view. And because of that, I'll have to look, and maybe Shane, if you are, I saw you in the live chat, you can remind me what the total points for the whole competition is. I think it was about 595.5 or something. But I'm thinking maybe we get quite a few lower scoring games. And I think one of the reasons for me is I'm fancy Italy to be a bit more competitive this year, to hold hold teams a little bit. What do you think? Can they beat this handicap against France? And, is there any chance of them causing an upset in the tournament?
There's no chance of them upsetting the French this weekend, but I do think they'll turn someone over. I don't think that they will actually do better than a year ago because I think everyone got a little bit better, except for Scotland. So I think Scotland's their pick-off. Wales is going to be a better team this year. They just are. And then England is also by the end, by the time they play Italy, which is kind of their bunny anyway. So I think this match is very difficult. I'm with Darren. This is difficult to prognosticate because the French usually take a little bit of time to get going in the season. They're not really a good road team. They're not going to take it seriously. You know what they're going to be doing the night before. They're missing Jonathan Danty in the 12, who's a very underrated player. They have some big losses as well in the pack. I think Cameron Waukee is out. I'm not sure, but there's some people that I think would help them if you're padding a score. I mean, they're going to win, but I don't know, like 20 is actually kind of a lot of points in a test match if it's your first one out and your attack's not really functioning. Defense is so much easier to start with in a tournament. So that's why I think Wales will be okay. That's why I think England and Scotland should, be a dour match. But I think this one, both teams can score a lot. I'm not sure they're going to be interested in defense that much. Once the French have the game in the bag, they're going to wave some people through. Italy can actually score pretty. Italy can score pretty well. The refs are actually a player in this one. Matthew Carley's the head referee, and I think you're going to run into this problem of how the Anglo-Saxon world of rugby is refereeing very differently than the French and Italians maybe used to. So I think it's going to be one of those awkward matches, and I would not put much on it. I just think it's one of those things that could be very, very strange.
Right, and I must say, I've got a similar view in the sense that, and my reason's a bit different, but I'm just a terrible Sunday punter. I don't know what it is. Whether I'm leading going into Sunday, I can't build on that lead. And if I'm chasing, well, I may as well not even bother as well. Whenever I play, so I'll probably just have a sort of a casual speculative play on this one. Right, well, that brings us to the end of the Six Nations, guys. We're just going to talk a bit of Sharks and Stormers. But before we do that, Harry, let's have a look at your second trivia question. This was also a very interesting one, and I'm interested to see what type of things the guys come up with here. Let us have it. And just to mention, this is also a 500 Rand voucher to the first person. Obviously, won't be the same person who won the last voucher.
Okay, so this is a twofer. You have to get both of these answers right. I'm looking for two teams. The two teams that in the Six Nations era, not the Five Nations, but Six Nations era, the only two teams who have never got the wooden spoon. Which two teams have never finished at the bottom of the table in the Six Nations era?
Right, so while the guys get going on that, we're going to move on to URC. I was quite surprised to see a lone URC match taking place this weekend. Sharks up against the Stormers, South African derby. I think this game is fairly close to where I handicapped it at Sharks minus 5.5 point favorites here against the Stormers. Harry, we'll start with you. Going to be hard to lift ourselves with this game with the Six Nations on this weekend, in all honesty. But as far as the UFC goes, quite a critical game with both of these teams very much in playoff contention.
A lot to play for, isn't it? Stormers really need that home semifinal, and if they're going to do that, they really have to. They have to try and win this one or get very close, get something out of it. And you would figure with that demolition by Ulster that they're not really riding high. I do think they have a lot of excuses on that one that actually make sense, right? As if you're a coach in the cloakroom and you're telling them, but we didn't really lose. I think he has some ammunition for that. The number of injuries, who the actual pack was at the end. I think they can. I think Dob can say. I think Dobber can say that's not really us. But I think the Sharks are a better team right now, so that's just the issue. The Sharks are cooking. That change at coach has really helped them, and then you got some big horses back. I don't know, because it's in Durban. I would say I think that line looks about right. If it was in Cape Town, it would be different. But I think I'd probably lean over here on Sharks. I just think that there's some confidence issues now with the Stormers. And, the Sharks are super confident right now. They may be the most confident team going right now in European competitions.
Yeah, I'm also leaning towards the Sharks on the minus there. Darren, I heard you agreeing when you heard about the change in coach there. And I always find it amazing. Henrik Swart, one of the regulars on our show, he's taking a bit of a punting break at the moment. I mean, he's always so firm in looking whether he rates the coach or not, and then he moves from there. And when I look at how the Sharks team have performed since changing coach, it's actually quite amazing. I look at a player like Kerwin Bosch, who, I mean, he started his career fairly promisingly, and then he's been absolutely useless for a couple of seasons, quite frankly. And I mean, I'm not saying he's a world beater now, but sure, but he's playing good rugby, under the new coach. So the Sharks certainly are a different bunch.
Yeah, I mean, this Neil Powell's, already on wonders. He's made them, from Cape Town, obviously, big Stormer fan, but super worried about this game. Yeah, he's got them purring. The Sharks look really good. The only thing I will say for the Stormers from that game in Ireland is obviously now Libok looks like he's going to be back. Willems is back. Those are two super integral guys within the Stormers team. Without them, they just lost in the back line. So having those two back, our pack is miraculously just always been superb. And with Mal Herban, Kitshoff never going anywhere, we're always going to be very competitive, win a few scrum penalties and all. So, yeah, a lot of it for me in Durban, also, the humidity, the conditions, can often make a game very, very scrappy out there. So, but generally, based on the way they've been playing, I would expect the Sharks to edge that one. But, we have a bit of faith in Willems. I don't know, the Stormer inside of me. After what happened last year, I mean, if someone told me to win the URC, I think how many years did I have to watch that we had no chance, barely any chance in the Super Rugby. It was quite an experience.
Yeah, I'm sure you must have there must have been some big prices available in running last year on the Stormers. I think they sprung together sort of 8 or 9 matches at the end of the season to sort of put it all together. That was amazing.
I mean, but I don't even think people put into perspective how big the Bulls beating Leinster in Leinster is. I mean, that is on a level that, no one even thought. I think they were. I'd like to remember that. I swear, I think they were like 16 or 20 to 1, the Bulls, just to win that game. Something off the charts. The spread was in the
that was a huge upset. They were 21-point underdogs or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'll hold on to our one trophy for now. Hope we emulate something, but it's tough. I mean, down in the Cape, we just lose players like it's going out of fashion. I mean, what are we? Kitshoff is gone again. We just can't hold on to people. Can someone just come by the Stormers, please? Any of you Irish or any of you Americans?
Maybe a guy from Texas can buy the Stormers, eh?
Yeah.
Dream come true.
Todd Bowley, the next Todd Bowley from Chelsea. Maybe he's interested.
Jonathan just helping us out there. 28 to 1 the Bulls were for that game. And I was pretty close with my 21.5. 22.5 there was the handicap. Jonathan also mentioning that the Sharks defended like machines last week. They certainly did. And for those on our newsletter, they'll know I got a much needed best bet there. And I must tell you guys, I was absolutely sweating bullets last week. And then worst case, we were visiting people and we had to actually leave with about 10 minutes to go. So I had to try to get the DSTV on my phone, and my wife didn't want to drive, and it was really, we had absolute drama. But the Sharks delivered. So if you haven't subscribed yet to the free weekly betting email, go down below, hit the subscribe button, and you can get on our mailing list there. POKERBET must buy them. Yeah, that's a good idea. The POKERBET Stormers. I mean, Darren, let's face it, bookmakers are sponsoring a lot of I'm sure you guys want to grow a bit before you start sponsoring provincial teams. But I mean, hey, it's something to aim for, eh?
Absolutely. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you look at a brand like Betway. I mean, they're just everywhere. They just, only so many, you're watching this SA20, you look at English football. Yeah, we'll put that on the dream list to buy. I mean, for starters, we sponsoring a team at the Tens this weekend. So we'll start there. Maybe we'll win the Tens down in Cape Town. That's always a vibe. So if anyone's around, just come down to the Tens. Good reason to have a few drinks and hang out. And let's say the end goal is we'll buy the Stormers. But, first they got to sort out this Newland story.
No, that's for sure. Just to mention also, guys, we're all going to run a Super Brew competition, and POKERBET's going to get involved with us on that as well. I have set the competition up, but more details will be in the newsletter tomorrow, and we'll also obviously put it out on Twitter. But I know most of the guys who play Super Brew would have already got that invitation to play in the game. We're going to move on to best bets now. Let's just have a look at the final comments coming in here. Stormers will raise lots of bucks once Newlands heritage rubbish is sorted. Yeah, that's a good point. Plenty of that in the news at the moment for Reed. But right, gentlemen, it's time to pick up best bets of the weekend here. Darren, I'm going to start with you there. What do you fancy most out of what we discussed today?
Yeah, Scotland for me. Scotland plus 8.5 if you got plus 9. When it starts getting to 6.5, then I'll get a bit more anxious. But if you can find anywhere, which I saw before the show, 8.5, for me, that's the one I really like.
Right, and Harry, yourself?
I've got a feeling about Wales. I'm feeling good about Wales, and then I don't ever touch a Stormers bet because I'm so terrible at being objective. But I think Wales has an ability to keep this match down. It'll be a rough opening. Actually, I think a lot of the matches will be scrappy. I think all 3 Six Nations will be a lot of mistakes, a lot of drops, a lot of scrums. So we'll see.
And Harry, I just realized I forgot to ask you. I'm going to have to scan back up the comments here and make sure I get the first person, because we had a whole lot of different answers. Who are the 2 teams that have never had the wooden spoon?
In the Six Nations era, it's been Ireland and England that have never finished 6th.
Right. Well, we got Darren was first out the blocks, but he went England and Wales, and just below him, and he's the winner of the competition, Stephen Marks, Ireland and England. I did get that right, eh? I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, you did. I just scrolled up.
Yeah, okay. No, because I was busy scanning while you were talking. I suddenly thought maybe I misheard you. So, Stephen, well done. You can email me, Brent, at goodforthegame.co.za. I'll put you in touch with the PokerBet guys there to claim your prize. And yeah, that brings us pretty much to the end of the show. Gents, thanks very much. It's been great chatting to you. Harry, what you up to the next week or so? You're going to be able to catch the games?
Yeah, no, I'll see them all. I'll actually be in the mountains on a long hike actually next week. So you'll get some good pictures on socials.
Right, excellent. Yeah, I'll follow at Harry Baldini on Twitter there. And Darren, yourself, what you got planned for the weekend? Obviously a bit of poker mixed with a bit of rugby punting.
Yeah, that's the dream. Well, looking on, spending some time with my daughter, but the rest of the time we'll be watching the rugby, and getting involved, hopefully, and showing a profit.
Excellent. Well, thanks to both guests. It was great having you on the show. It feels like we're getting back into our rugby punting now. Been a little bit lackluster after the last couple of weeks. And then to all the guys joining in the live chat, good luck in those competitions. Keep an eye on the newsletter and Twitter for more comps. And have a great weekend's punting, guys. Let's hit those bookies hard. Cheers, everyone.
Good guys.